All right, let's dive into one of the most fundamental and, let's be honest, frustrating rules in English. We're talking about the difference between things you can count and things you can't. It sounds super simple, right? But this one little rule creates a massive divide in the language.
You've probably heard someone say something like this: I have many informations. If you're a native English speaker, something in your brain just went, nope, that's not right. It just sounds wrong. But have you ever stopped to think about why?
So that's the big question we're tackling today. For a lot of people, it's just a gut feeling, an intuition. But there's actually a really fascinating logic hiding just under the surface, and we are going to unpack it together. So let's start with this deceptively simple question, because can you count it? Well, it turns out to be a massive hurdle for pretty much everyone learning English. The rule seems so straightforward, but using it in the real world can feel totally random. If you grew up speaking English, you probably don't even think about it. It's just second nature. But if you're learning, wow, it can be absolutely maddening. It's kind of like learning to ride a bike. Once you finally get it, you totally forget how difficult it was to begin with. Okay, so let's get down to basics. Let's just draw a clear line in the sand. What is the fundamental difference between these two types of nouns? First up, we've got the easy stuff, countable nouns. And hey, the name kind of gives it away, doesn't it? These are just individual things you can literally put a number on. 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples. Simple, right? So yeah, this covers concrete things like apples and chairs, but it also works for more abstract ideas like opportunities or invoices. Here's a little trick for you. If you can put a number in front of it and add an S to make it plural, it's almost certainly countable. And then on the flip side, we have uncountable nouns. These are things we tend to see as a whole, a big mass, a substance, or an abstract idea. Think of stuff like water or advice. You can't have 3 advices. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I can order 3 waters. And that's a perfect example of how context can bend these rules, because you're really talking about 3 bottles of water. And this is where you find all the usual suspects: water, information, which was our original problem word, and furniture. And of course, the big one, the famous curveball, money. This trips everybody up, because even though you can count dollars and cents, the abstract idea of money itself, yeah, we treat that as one big, uncountable thing. So let's just put them side by side here. It makes it super clear. You can really see the main grammatical split. Countable nouns get to be singular and plural. You can have an apple or some apples. But uncountable nouns, they pretty much just have the one form. You've got some milk, but you'd never say a milk. Okay, so we've got the basics down, but now we get to the really fun part. English absolutely loves to bend its own rules, so let's dive into those tricky gray areas where a noun can actually be both. Check this out. This is where it gets so fascinating. The same exact word can be a complete chameleon. The hair on your head is just one big uncountable mass. But, find a few individual strands in your soup, suddenly they're countable hairs. The only thing that changed was how you were looking at it. And we see the exact same logic with the word chicken. When it's meat on your plate, it's uncountable. But when you're talking about the actual animals pecking around in the yard, well, you can count them. 1 chicken, 2 chickens. It's all about, is it food or is it a feathered friend?
But if there's one word that is the absolute master of this double agent game, it has got to be time.
Think about it. When you're talking about time as this big, flowing, abstract concept, it's uncountable. Like when you say, I don't have much time. But the moment you start chopping it up into specific instances or occasions, bam, it becomes countable. We saw that movie 3 times. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, this is kind of nerdy, but does it really matter? And the answer is, oh yeah, absolutely. This isn't just about sounding fluent, it's about making sure people actually understand what you mean. Let's just take one simple word: paper. If you say, I need paper, you're talking about blank sheets to write on. But if you say, I need a paper, suddenly you mean a newspaper or maybe an essay. And if you say, I need some papers, well, now you're talking about important documents, like for a visa. Isn't that wild? Tiny little changes, 3 completely different meanings. This whole countability thing also dictates the words you use with these nouns, your quantifiers. Think of this table as your best friend, your ultimate cheat sheet. You use many and a few with things you can count, like chairs, but you need much and a little for uncountable stuff, like furniture. And luckily, some and a lot of are the easygoing ones that play nice with both. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. because we started with what seems like a simple grammar rule, but this goes way, way deeper. This is actually about how language literally shapes the way we see the world. And here's a really important thing to remember. This is an English thing. What's uncountable to us might be totally countable in Spanish or Japanese or Russian. This is exactly why that sentence we started with, "I have many informations," isn't a mistake. It's actually a perfectly logical translation from another language's point of view. And that right there, that's the secret key to all of this. It's not arbitrary at all. Our grammar is just a reflection of our perception. The real question isn't, can you count it? The question is, do we see it as one big blob or as a bunch of individual things?
Just think about this for a second. We treat knowledge like this big, formless cloud, but facts are like little individual bricks you can stack. We talk about happiness as this general, uncountable state of being, but we can count the specific happy events that lead to it. It's so subtle you don't even notice it, but our grammar is nudging us toward a certain way of seeing things. So look, getting this right will definitely make your English sound more natural. But hey, if you slip up, don't sweat it. At the end of the day, language is about communication, not perfection. And you'll find that context is your best friend. It'll save you almost every single time.
So I want to leave you with this one last thought to chew on. If our grammar really does reflect how we perceive things, what about those huge, uncountable ideas in your own life? Things like progress or love or freedom. How does seeing them as a single continuous mass, instead of just a list of items you can count, actually shape your world?